Hey, what's up guys, this is Ryan from Skootish and I'm giving you my top 10 favorite / best movies of 2012. The reason I said favorite / best is because this is my personal opinion of the movies, so you may disagree with one or two or all of them, I don't know, but just my personal best, not the best, because best is all a matter of opinions. Also, I haven't seen all the movies that came out. I've only seen like maybe 35, so I can't really judge. There's a lot of good movies I haven't seen, so if you want to ask me which movies I've seen, like if you said like, why isn't Blink in there? I'll respond with either I haven't seen it yet or I just didn't like it, so you can leave that in the comments below. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start off with number 10, and that is The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. If you saw my review of the movie, I said that the first half was pretty slow, but the second half just brought up it so much, and I really didn't care about the first half once the second half came. It was so entertaining. Also, the 48 frames per second part of it, that really knocked it down a tiny bit. It would also be a little higher if that wasn't on it. So maybe if I see the 24 frames per second, I may even bump it up. But for now, for this year, I'm saying this is my number 10, and I almost didn't put it in, so I'm glad I did. Number 9, I'm going to put in probably the most interesting movie of 2012, and that is Chronicle. I absolutely love this movie. I can't explain why. I mean, maybe just because it was so interesting how it was a found footage superhero movie. And the acting was really, really good, especially for people we don't know, and I hope they get jobs in the future because they're really good. And just everything about it was so good. The way that he levitated the camera in order to get some really cool shots, that was genius. I love Chronicle, and I'm glad I put it in my number 9, and I do not regret it. Number 8. This one, I know some people really did not like it, but I think a lot of people liked it. It is Cabin in the Woods. This was the most bizarre horror movie I've ever seen in my life, but I freaking loved it. It was just so unpredictable. I thought of like 10 different endings to this movie, and not one of them was the actual ending. I love this movie. It was so bizarre. If you hated it, I totally understand, but I loved it, and I'm glad I put it in my number 8, like I said for number 9. Number 7, I'm gonna put probably one of the most underrated movies of the year, and that is Flight. Flight stars Denzel Washington, and it's directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's his kind of comeback to live action movies, because he had Polar Express, Christmas Carol, and Beowulf. And let me just say, I really like this movie. Denzel Washington, his performance is so good. Like if he's nominated for an Oscar, I won't be surprised at all. He was so good in this movie. Everything, I just really like the story connected to this movie. It was something I hadn't really seen before. It was all about alcoholism and how one man tries to struggle with it. It wasn't really about a flight at all. It wasn't about an airplane flight. It was about a flight to achieve his unalcoholism. I really like this movie, and like I said for the others, I'm glad this is my number 7. Number 6, I'm gonna put Argo, which is directed by and starring Ben Affleck. Let me just say, Ben Affleck is an amazing director. He's, in like 10 years, I can see him being one of the top directors. He's just so good. I love how he directs his movies, and he's made 3 movies, and all 3 of them were good. Argo is really suspenseful, it's funny, it's such a good thriller. It's just a great movie, and the fact that it's also a true story just makes it even more suspenseful and intense and awesome. Number 5. Okay, I said that Flight may be the most underrated movie of the year. I think this is the most underrated movie of the year, and that is Cloud Atlas. Let me just say, this movie was so good. The fact that this has a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't make sense to me. This movie was so good. I mean, if maybe the critics just saw the first half, I can understand that, because the first half is really boring because it's trying to lead up to the epic finale of the movie. But you need the first half to complete the movie, and the whole movie together was so good. The ending, and just when everything came together at the end, it was just so breathtaking. The fact that I put this at number 5, just seeing this in one time, is really good, because if I see it another time, which I definitely will, I'll probably understand a lot more, and it'll probably even be higher on my list if I did see it again. So, Cloud Atlas, one of the best movies of the year, go check it out. Number 4, this is by far the funniest movie of the year. This is 21 Jump Street. Did I say funniest movie of the year? This is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. This movie was hilarious. Everything about this movie was so funny. The whole plot of the story, the acting, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, it was just so good. When I saw the trailer to this movie, when I was watching a different movie, I forget which movie, I thought it would be a really funny movie just because it starred Jonah Hill, who's one of my favorite comedic actors, and Channing Tatum. He seemed really funny in the trailer. I couldn't really see him as a comedy actor before this, but seeing in the trailer, he looked really funny. But I mean, I expected it just to be an average comedy, nothing like really funny or anything. But what I got was such an hysterical movie. Every second of this movie was so funny. I would also say this is pretty underrated for a comedy. Like, people are all talking about Ted as the funniest movie of the year. I thought this was like 10 times more funny than Ted. Ted was funny, but this was hysterical. I highly recommend 21 Jump Street to anyone. If you want to have a good time, just sit back, relax, and watch this movie. It'll give you a good time. This movie is so funny. I love this movie so much. I've seen it 3 times, and I'll see it more in the future. I love it. Okay, down to the top 3. These are the movies that I really loved, and it was so hard to pick the order of these 3, but let's go with it. Number 3, Looper. Looper is a sci-fi movie about time travel, which is directed by Rian Johnson and stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis and Emily Blunt. My expectations for this movie were extremely high, so I did not think it would match the expectations or exceed them, for all I know. Looking back, I think they exceeded my expectations. This movie was so good. Everything about this movie, like I said for like the other ones in this list, but everything about this movie was just so interesting and just so cool. The acting was great, the story, definitely the story was amazing. Everything, the directing was great, everything about it was just so good. This is like probably one of the most original movies of the year. It was really original. Sure, a few aspects from other movies were thrown in there just to be like inspired from, but in all, this is really original, and that's something you don't see nowadays in Hollywood. I really love this movie, and like I said for the others, I don't regret putting this as my number 3. Okay, top 2. These 2, they're actually pretty hard to pick from because, let's go with number 2 and I'll explain after. Number 2, Django Unchained. I saw this movie a week ago. I never really made a review of it, so I'll just review it right now. This movie was freaking awesome. Quentin Tarantino, I actually have never seen a movie by him before this, but I just saw Inglourious Basterds yesterday, actually, and it was such a good movie. And Quentin Tarantino, you are a great director. This movie was there's one word for this movie: entertaining. It doesn't try to be a masterpiece. It knows what it is. It's just an epic, awesome movie. Like I said, it knows what it is, and it just exceeds it. It's just so funny. It's entertaining. There's over-exaggerating of like blood and stuff like that. But that makes it even more cool. Just that Quentin Tarantino just throws it in there and says, "Okay, I'll do it. Why not?" That's what I love about him, and I have to see more of his movies. Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained. I love them both, so he must be a great director. And I need to see Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction I need to see. Okay, my number 1 movie of the year. I think you may have guessed it if you see my review of this. It is The Dark Knight Rises. If you're sitting at your computer and just shaking your head, I don't care if you think this movie wasn't the best of the year, that's fine, but this was an amazing movie, you have to admit that. I know it had its flaws, it's not a flawless movie like The Dark Knight, but this movie was so good. People who say it sucked, I don't understand, I'm sorry. Christopher Nolan, you are a god. He knows how to make a movie. First, Memento, Prestige, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Inception. Now this, he is a god. I love this movie, the acting, the score, the directing, Bane, everything about it. It was just so amazing. Like I said, all these are really close to each other, so it's not like, it doesn't stand out. This is really close to Django Unchained because I love that movie also, but I have to say, Dark Knight Rises is the best movie of the year. That's my opinion. You may disagree, but like I said, it's my opinion. If you want to disagree, type below, but yeah, I'll tell you why I disagree. So those are my top 10 movies of the year. Like I said, it was really hard to pick because there's so many good movies out this year. Since I have 4 honorable mentions, I like to say, because I can't just leave them out if I really like them. First off, The Avengers. Even though I thought this movie was probably the most overrated movie of all time, the hype over this movie was ridiculous. Like, seriously, ridiculous. 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not the point. I like this movie. I enjoyed myself. It was not a masterpiece. It's not the best superhero movie of all time. It's maybe in the top 5, but I liked it. I really liked it. It's one of my favorites of the year. It was entertaining. It had just great action, and it wasn't anything really special, but I really liked it. It was a good movie. Second off is Skyfall. This is also a little on the overrated side because I really don't think it deserved all the hype over it, especially since the first half was really slow. But that's same with Hobbit. A lot of movies this year had slow beginnings, so that's okay. This is also coming from a non-Bond fan because this is my first Bond movie actually, so maybe that may have to do with it. So if you're mad at me right now, just remember I haven't seen another Bond movie, so maybe you have to be a really big Bond fan to like it. Third off is The Hunger Games. I thought this movie was very good. I read the book too, and I thought it was just as good as the book. Maybe the book was a tiny bit better because it had more details. Well, yeah, the book's always better. But this movie was really entertaining. Jennifer Lawrence was really great as Katniss, and the directing was pretty good. A little too much shaky cam, but that's alright. It was really good movie, and that's my honorable mention. I can't just leave this out of the top 10 of the year because it was just a really fun movie, and I have to mention my honorable mention. So that's my third honorable mention. And my last honorable mention is Looper. Wait, did I say Looper? And my last honorable mention is Lincoln. Lincoln was a very, very, very good movie. Very well directed by Steven Spielberg. Daniel Day-Lewis was unbelievable as Lincoln. He'll definitely be nominated for Best Actor and probably win. It was just such a good movie. I'm really interested in history for Lincoln right now because in my history class we're learning about him, so it was really fun to see, actually see what happened instead of just learn about it. It was just a great movie, and I'm really glad I saw it, and yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Those aren't the only movies that I liked this year. I liked a lot more, but those are like my top 14, I guess. Yeah, the other 4, they're not in order, but I guess you can say it's my top 14. Thank you guys for watching my top 10 movies of the year. I'll possibly make a top 10 worst movies of the year. It depends on the time, but I'll really try to. It may not be on for a while, but just bear with me. And sorry if I'm talking a little weird. I have like a sore throat, so if I'm acting weird, it's hard to talk with my sore throat, so that's that. Well, that's my top 10 of the year and my 4 honorable mentions, so thank you guys for watching, and have a Skootish day.